Let me show you how I went from this to finally with this. And I built this all using the power of Framer and Rive. And fun fact, I am a complete newbie when it comes to illustration and animations. So if you watched my last video, you know that it's my mission to create stunning and beautiful websites without losing the fundamentals of great user interface and user experience. So why am I making this video? Just to demonstrate that you can make stunning websites that are unique. Plus, I got a lot of inspirations from other websites that utilize great illustrations to emphasize the storytelling aspect. Importantly, this is not a tutorial on how I created this hero section for this website using Framer and Rive. Instead, I'm going to go through how I came up with the idea of this website, then go through the branding strategy all the way from themes to colors to building the assets, putting it all together to make one cohesive hero section, and finally adding a bit of animation to it to add more fun and engagement. And if you're in the design space, you're probably going to know that your first iteration is never going to be the final one. So if you stick to the end of the video, you're going to see the journey I went through. So coming out with the design to the first iteration, which I was happy with, but there was something bothering me. So I tweaked it a bit and landed on a result that I absolutely loved. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, first things first, I love Japan. Everything from the people and the culture. And I love, love, love sushi. That is more than an understatement. And if you know me, you know that I'm a massive anime geek. It's funny because anime has gone from a hobby to a global phenomenon. Once considered weird in the 2000s, it's now everywhere, with the numbers to prove it. The global anime market hit 34.2 billion in 2024, up from 25 billion in 2021, and is projected to reach a mass 60.2 billion by 2030. North America is particularly anime crazy, with a growth rate of 16.3%. Netflix reported over 120 million US households streaming anime in 2020. On the same lines, Japanese are known for the term kawaii, which in English translates to cute. The kawaii style has blown up from a Japanese cute thing to a global cash cow. The adorableness isn't just cute, it's serious money. And the market is huge, hitting 34.2 billion in 2024 and headed for a crazy 60.2 billion in 2030. Hello Kitty's company alone made about 650 million last year, while Pokemon rakes around 5 billion yearly from its cute little monsters. So I wanted to create a conceptual hero section for a sushi restaurant, incorporating the illustration and kawaii theme. And so my process includes doing a quick sketch on my creative direction, then breaking out that sketch and making them into individual assets, then choosing a color palette that represents that theme, then putting it all together in one cohesive design, and finally, you know what? I'm all about the fun. So I wanted to challenge myself and animate some of the assets. I mean, the hero section is meant to be super playful. Okay, so let's go first through the color palette. First, I sourced inspiration images tying to the kawaii theme. You'll see here that I've created a mood board of all these kawaii assets and simply just started extracting colors I thought were really going to represent the Japanese kawaii theme. I really like this bright coral red color. It's warm, it's fun, and it really stands out. And it kind of gives off the like energetic feel for sushi. I don't know, that's what I get when I eat sushi, so a little bit biased. Then I choose some colors that supplement this primary color, but I didn't go overboard with the bright colors. I wanted to include some neutral colors like a blue, a lighter shade and a darker shade, and you'll see later why. So with the mock-ups I'm preparing, everything can't be super saturated with these bright coral red color and variations of it. So I wanted to balance it out with some other colors to kind of make it a little bit more balanced. Okay, now let's talk about putting the assets together. So for this video, I'm just going to focus on the three main assets that were a bit challenging to put together, and I'll explain the rationale of designing those assets in particular. So first of all, you'll see, if I zoom in, for the logo, I really wanted to go for a really cutesy onigiri ball or a rice ball. So I like this shape. It was a little bit too busy for my liking. So I wanted to, overall, I'm trying to be a little bit more simple with the design. So I like the outline and the shape and kind of like the feel. I really like these eyes. I thought they were really cute and kawaii. So I wanted to kind of combine these two into one cohesive, let's call it mascot, a sushi mascot for the logo. So if I go here, you can see my first iteration, combining these two concepts together. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I like that it's flat and simple, but I think the eyes for me were a little bit too overboard. And then when you actually go see this within the view of the hero image, the eyes are a little bit, it doesn't stand out as much. So I scrapped that idea and I went with this idea instead. So I thought, let's just simplify the eyes a bit. It kind of, you'll see later, these eyes are very consistent with the characters I'm going to be putting together. So this is kind of like the final, let's call it cute sushi icon I'm going to incorporate in the logo. And this is the final logo I went with. So that's the name of my conceptual sushi restaurant hero section. So it's called Kawaii Sushi, a little bit on the nose, but whatever. So that's the logo. Okay, so next I wanted to do some characters. So I thought it would be really fun to have one human character, a sushi chef, and one animal character, because why not? So I like these two characters, but again, I wanted to make these my own. So I started sketching them out digitally, and this is what I came up with. So you'll see that this guy is very much in line with this. So I used Illustrator to kind of come up with this guy. I like the cat, but I made him a bear instead. So you'll see, these two are kind of similar. They're great just for guidance, but I really wanted to create my own style. So you'll see these guys are very similar. They wear the same outfit, have the same eyes. The only difference is one's a bear and one's a human. And then I wanted to give it some color. So going back to my color palette, I decided to give them some color. So these are the final assets I've come up with my two characters. Aren't they just cute? And finally, so the next one is going to be the Japanese inspired restaurant. So what I did is, I did come up with some, let's call it inspiration from my stock library. I also used some, you can see some of these are not spelled properly because they are AI generated. So love it or hate it, AI is really good with conceptualizing different designs. So I ultimately went with this one, and this is not AI generated. So I really like the fact that it was kind of like isometric in 3D. So what I did, again, similar to the other assets, I decided to kind of sketch this out through Illustrator. And this was my first design, and then I wanted to add some color. So this was the final design. So you can see I've incorporated the color palette I showed you earlier. So if I zoom out, I've got my three assets, my logo, my characters, and my kawaii Japanese style restaurant house. Okay, so that's how I came up with the assets for the hero image. Again, there are other assets that go into the final hero section, but I just focused on the main ones. Otherwise, it's going to be a super long video. You don't want that. Okay, so with all that said, this is the result I got. And look, I was reasonably content with the result, but I felt it was lacking in a bit of depth. And you're probably wondering what I mean by that. So if I actually go back to the sites that I got inspiration from, I decided to change things up. In particular, I illustrated this Japanese style house, but for some reason, I just look at it and it just did not sit right with me. So I went back to my handy friend AI and got some other conceptualized designs. So now, moving to the end result, this is the result I came up with, and I like it because it's a little bit more in depth. And I guess the biggest thing I wanted to make sure is consistency. So you can see if I go back to the original design, it was nice to have the house kind of isometric and 3D like, but none of the other assets were that same design. So for consistency, I wanted to make everything look the same, so I made the house 2D instead of 3D. And so now you can see that the other things I did is, when you go through this iteration process, you're most likely going to have to update the other assets. So you'll see all of the other characters. So the other character, so the human and the cute little bear, needed to match the color palette of the new asset. So I had to do some rejigging, and this is the new color palette for the two characters. And then finally, you can see that I've added more iconic icons of Japan, which is Mount Fuji, which it was in the previous design, but I wanted to make it more, again, story-like and add a little bit more depth by matching the design with the house. And then I added a bright sun because, if you know, Japan is known as the land of the rising sun. So I added a cute bright sun. Okay, so right now, I was really happy with the next iteration on how it turned out. I think it definitely ties more to the illustration and storytelling. And don't get me wrong, so I like the first iteration, but this one it does it for me. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you like the first one better. So now that we have this, I thought, okay, let's give this hero section a bit of life. So I am new to this program, or let's call it platform, called Rive. But Rive is such an incredible tool to add animation to website assets without using any code whatsoever. So I'm going to give you a quick, short B-roll of just the back end of Rive. But jumping straight ahead, this is the final result. So you can see two things. So the sun is animated, it's kind of twirling around, and that actually, I've done that natively in Rive. So there's a tool, natively in Framer. So there is a motion default tool that allows you to rotate the assets in a circle. So that's actually a Framer thing. But these next two things I'm going to go through. So the first one is our cute little human chef. So you can see him going left to right and blinking. And then if you hover above him, he has this cute little caption. How cool is that? And I didn't stop there. So you're probably thinking, where did that bear go? And I didn't decide to kill him. So he's still alive, so don't worry. So I decided to include him into the house. So you can see that the house opens up and he's doing a little cute little wave. Yeah, so this is the final result. And I'm really happy with it. For me, it definitely speaks to the cute Japanese kawaii theme. And again, this is not something I do comfortably. I'm relatively new to illustration and animation. So for this result, I'm really happy with it. Let me know what you think. So you see, this is the final result. And funny enough, this is my first attempt to build a website that I fully illustrated and animated. So to me, I'm pretty happy with it. And if you like this video, click up here where I cover 5 beautiful and stunning websites that use unique design and sometimes some illustrations. And finally, it would help this channel a lot if you can give this video a like and consider subscribing. Catch you in the next video.